We look for another to feel complete, but instead create a deep void within our own heart. This pattern, this trap, is the source of our most profound suffering in relationships. It is so easy to fall into and so difficult to see, but once you understand it, you will be free. Stay until the end, because the final insight is the key to protecting your own peace. Seeking reflections. The journey of understanding any connection we form begins not by looking at the other person, but by turning our awareness inward. We must first ask, with total honesty, what is it that I am truly seeking? When an older person, a woman with a landscape of experiences behind her, finds herself drawn to a younger person, a man who is just beginning to map out his world, the dynamic is rarely as simple as just affection. Often, what is being sought is not the person themselves, but a reflection of a time that has passed, a vitality that feels distant, an uncomplicated future that is no longer one's own. It is the ghost of youth that becomes the object of affection. This is a very subtle and dangerous foundation upon which to build anything of meaning, because it is not built on reality. It is built on an illusion, a projection of our own inner world onto another human being. This person becomes a canvas, and on this canvas, we paint a picture of what we miss, what we desire, or what we believe we have lost. Their energy, their potential, their unmarked path, it all becomes a source of nourishment, not for a shared journey forward, but for the revitalization of our own past. And the danger here is twofold. Firstly, we are not seeing the individual. We are seeing a symbol. We are interacting with a concept we have created in our mind, and this is a deep injustice to them. They are not seen for who they are, with their own struggles, their own complexities, their own path. They are instead asked to carry the weight of being a remedy for our own sense of time passing. This is a burden that no one can carry successfully, and it will inevitably lead to deep disappointment when the real person emerges from behind the projection we have created. The second and perhaps more profound danger is to ourselves. When we seek a reflection, we are admitting a deep dissatisfaction with our own present reality. We are turning away from the richness, the wisdom, and the strength that our own journey has given us. We are devaluing our own accumulated experience in favor of an idealized version of a past we can never return to. This creates a state of internal conflict and suffering. We are trying to live in two timelines at once: the present, where our body and mind reside, and the past, which we are trying to access through another person. This internal split is the source of great anxiety and a feeling of being ungrounded. Your peace, your stability, becomes dependent on this external source of youthfulness, behaving in a way that continues to provide you with this feeling. And this is a fragile state to be in. The practice then is to cultivate the clarity to see when this is happening. Before you invest your heart, your energy, and your time, you must sit in stillness and observe the nature of your own desire. Is the joy you feel in their presence a joy in them, in their unique soul and their journey? Or is it a joy in the feeling they ignite within you, a feeling that is tied to your own history? The ability to distinguish between these two is a mark of profound self-awareness. It is the difference between a connection that has the potential for growth and a connection that is a beautiful, tragic setup for suffering. We must learn to appreciate the beauty of a blossoming flower without feeling the need to pick it and keep it for ourselves, especially if our reason for picking it is simply to remember a time when we too were a blossoming flower. True connection honors the other person's reality, and it is rooted firmly and gratefully in our own. Losing center. In our practice, we often speak of the stance, the foundation, the way you connect your body to the earth so that you can remain stable no matter the force that comes against you. This physical principle is a direct metaphor for our internal world. Our center is our own self-mastery, our own inner peace, our own non-negotiable stability that is cultivated from within. It is our home. We can venture out from this home, we can invite others in, but we never, ever abandon it. The greatest mistake, the one thing you must never do in this dynamic, or any dynamic, but it is especially amplified here, is to relocate your center into the other person, to make their life, their stability, their journey, the foundation of your own. This is the fastest path to losing yourself completely. When an older woman who has had decades to build her own structure, to understand her own patterns, and to cultivate her own wisdom, places her emotional center inside a younger man, she is building her house on ground that is, by its very nature, still shifting. A younger person's life is a whirlwind of exploration, of mistakes, of changing desires, of finding their own path. Their center is not yet fixed. They are supposed to be in a state of flux. That is the very nature of their stage in life. It is a time for them to be healthily selfish in their self-discovery. If your peace of mind, your happiness, and your sense of stability become dependent on their choices, their moods, or their life direction, you have tethered your ship to a boat that is still learning how to navigate the storm. And when it rocks, you will be thrown. When it changes course, you will be dragged along with it. This loss of center manifests in subtle ways. It begins with small compromises of your own values or your own needs to accommodate their world. Perhaps you abandon routines that have brought you peace for years because they do not fit into their more spontaneous lifestyle. Perhaps you silence the voice of your own experience because you fear it makes you seem old or controlling. You start to measure your worth by their attention, your happiness by their presence. Your emotional state becomes a reflection of their emotional state. If they are happy and stable, you feel a temporary sense of peace. If they are confused, distant, or struggling, your entire world is plunged into anxiety and turmoil. You have given the remote control of your own inner weather to someone who is still learning to understand their own. The suffering that arises from this is immense because it is a self-inflicted wound. You have abandoned the one thing that you have true control over, your own inner state. The practice here is one of radical self-responsibility. It is the cultivation of a center so strong, so rooted in your own practices, your own wisdom, and your own self-love, that it cannot be moved by the turbulence of another. This does not mean you cannot love or connect or share a journey. It means you do so from a place of wholeness, not from a place of need. You are like a great ancient tree. You can offer shade, you can offer shelter, your branches can dance in the wind with the branches of another, but your roots are deep in your own soil. You are nourished by your own connection to the earth. A relationship then becomes a meeting of two whole individuals, not a desperate attempt by one to find stability in the other. Your center is your sanctuary. Never ever give the key to someone else, especially someone who has not yet finished building their own. Assuming roles. When a significant gap in age and experience defines a connection, there is a powerful and often unconscious tendency to fall into predefined roles. These roles are like scripts that we believe will make the interaction easier to navigate, but in reality, they are cages that prevent any true connection from ever forming. The most common script in the dynamic between an older woman and a younger man is that of the mentor and the protege, or the nurturer and the recipient. This is the thing you must not do, you must not enter, or allow the connection to be defined by these theatrical roles, because in doing so, you cease to be two sovereign individuals and instead become actors in a play. And the end of the play is always a tragedy of misunderstanding. The woman, with her wealth of life experience, may unconsciously assume the role of the guide, the mentor, the one who can offer wisdom, stability, and a safe harbor. She might find a sense of purpose and value in being the one who knows. She can help him navigate his career, his emotions, his life. And on the surface, this can feel benevolent. It can feel like love. But beneath it lies a subtle trap of control and ego. Her value in the relationship becomes tied to her ability to provide this guidance. The power dynamic is inherently unequal. She is the teacher, he is the student. This is not a partnership, it is a hierarchy. And the suffering begins when he naturally starts to develop his own wisdom, to make his own choices that might contradict her advice. When the student no longer needs the teacher, what is the teacher's role? Her sense of identity within the connection crumbles. The younger man, in turn, may initially find comfort and security in this role. It is appealing to have a guide, someone to lean on who has already navigated the treacherous waters he is just now entering. But over time, this role becomes suffocating. It stifles his own growth, his own need to make mistakes and learn from them. He may begin to feel that he is not loved for who he is, but for his potential to be molded. The nurturing can start to feel like mothering, and the guidance can feel like control. He will eventually feel a deep need to break free from the role of the student in order to become his own man, to claim his own sovereignty. And this act of breaking free will feel like a betrayal to the woman who has invested so much in her role as the mentor. The authentic connection between two souls is lost. What is left is the awkwardness of two actors who have forgotten their lines because the script no longer fits their reality. The real person behind the role was never truly seen or engaged with. The woman was not seen in her vulnerability or her own needs. She was only the strong one. The man was not seen in his own budding strength and wisdom. He was only the one who needed help. This is the illusion of connection. The antidote to this is a radical commitment to authenticity from the very beginning. It requires the courage to dismantle these roles as soon as they appear. It requires the older woman to consciously step back from the role of mentor and to engage with him as an equal, a fellow traveler on a different part of the same path. It requires her to show her own vulnerabilities, her own uncertainties, her own not knowing. It requires seeing him not as a project to be fixed or a student to be guided, but as a whole and complete person right now on his own unique and valid journey. It is only when the costumes are removed and the script is thrown away that two people can truly meet. Confusing timelines. Every human life moves to its own rhythm, its own timeline. This timeline is shaped by our experiences, our biology, our responsibilities, and our understanding of the world. A person in their 20s or early 30s is on a timeline of becoming. They are building their foundation, their career, their social identity, their understanding of who they are. Their energy is directed outward, toward exploration, creation, and establishment. A person in their 40s, 50s, or beyond is often on a different timeline. It is a timeline that can be more about being. It is a time of consolidation, of deepening, of understanding the self that has been built. The energy can be more reflective, directed inward. The thing you must never do is to ignore this fundamental difference in timelines and pretend that you can simply merge them without creating immense friction and suffering. The trap is to believe that love or affection can erase these fundamental realities of life's seasons. The older woman may, with the best of intentions, try to pull the younger man onto her timeline. She may be seeking a settled partnership, a quiet companionship, a shared life that is built on the foundations she has already laid. She is ready to enjoy the house she has built, but he is still gathering the materials to build his own. He may still crave the late nights with friends, the career risks, the travel, the uncertainty, all the things that are essential to his process of becoming. When she tries to impose her rhythm of life onto him, it will feel like a cage to him, and his natural, healthy desire for exploration will feel like a rejection or a lack of commitment to her. Conversely, the older woman might try to force herself onto his timeline. She may try to recapture the social energy, the spontaneity, the becoming phase of her own past. She might abandon her own needs for peace, stability, and reflection to keep up with his world. But this is an act of self-violence. It is a denial of her own season of life. It creates a deep sense of exhaustion and inauthenticity. She is not living her own life, she is trying to be a guest in his. And this dependency is fragile. What happens when his timeline naturally progresses? When he, in 10 years, begins to seek the quiet and stability that she is seeking now? She will have sacrificed her present for a past he was living, only to find that he has moved on to a future she has already been through. The suffering that arises from this confusion of timelines is the suffering of constant grating friction. It is the pain of mismatched expectations. She expects a depth of presence that he is not yet ready to give because his energy is needed elsewhere. He expects a freedom and lack of expectation that she is not able to provide because her heart is ready for a different kind of connection. They are not bad people. They are simply in different seasons. The practice here is one of profound acceptance and realistic appraisal. It is to look clearly at both timelines and to honor them for what they are. It is to ask, can these two rhythms truly harmonize, or will one always have to be sacrificed for the other? A true connection does not require one person to abandon their season of life. It finds a way to honor both. Sometimes the most loving act is to recognize that your timelines are simply too different to merge without causing one or both of you to live a life that is not your own. And to have the courage to let go with love is a mark of true wisdom. Projecting futures. One of the most powerful and often destructive functions of the human mind is its ability to create a future. We are storytellers. When we feel a spark of connection, our mind immediately begins to write a novel. It projects a future filled with shared moments, growth, and companionship. We build entire worlds in our imagination based on a few pleasant interactions. In a relationship with a significant age difference, this tendency to project a future becomes particularly dangerous. The thing you must never do is to build a detailed, rigid projection of a shared future and mistake that projection for reality. This is the act of falling in love, not with the person, but with a story you have told yourself. The older woman, perhaps with a clearer sense of what she wants from the later chapters of her life, is especially vulnerable to this. She might see in the younger man not just who he is now, but who he could be in 10 or 15 years. She projects her hopes onto him. She sees him as a future partner, a companion for her later years. She mentally constructs a timeline where he catches up to her in maturity and life goals. She begins to invest her emotional energy not in the present reality of the connection, but in this imagined future. She is watering a plant that exists only in her mind, and she suffers because the present moment is never quite good enough. The present person is always a work in progress who needs to develop in order to fit into the future she has designed. This projection places an impossible burden on the younger man. He is now being measured against a future version of himself that he may never become. He did not ask to be cast in this role in her mental movie. His own dreams, his own uncertain path, his own right to change his mind 100 times. All of this is invalidated by her rigid projection. He will feel this pressure, this weight of expectation, and it will suffocate the natural, organic unfolding of his own life. He will feel that he is constantly disappointing her, not because of who he is now, but because he is not yet the character she has written for him in the future. This creates resentment and a powerful desire to escape, to be free from the prison of her expectations. The source of this deep suffering is attachment, not attachment to the person, but attachment to the outcome. You have decided what the destination of this journey should be, and now you are trying to force the path to lead there. But life is not a straight line. People change, their desires evolve. The young man who today says he wants a quiet life may in 5 years feel a desperate need to move to another country. The future is unwritten. By clinging to a single projected version of it, you set yourself up for heartbreak. The moment reality deviates from your story, and it always will, your world shatters. The pain is not caused by the other person's change of heart. The pain is caused by the collapse of the illusion you built and lived inside. The practice, then, is to cultivate present moment awareness in the connection. It is to engage with the person who is in front of you today, not the person they might be tomorrow. To enjoy the connection for what it is now, without needing it to guarantee a specific future. Can you find joy in this interaction, this day, this conversation, without it needing to be a building block for a predetermined structure? To love without a blueprint for the future is to love in freedom, and it is the only way to protect your heart from the suffering of a collapsed illusion. Clinging tightly. At the very heart of all human suffering lies one single powerful mechanism: clinging, the desire to hold on to what is pleasant, to prevent change, and to make permanent that which is by its very nature impermanent. In the context of a relationship between an older woman and a younger man, this act of clinging becomes the central cause of pain. The one thing you must never, ever do is to cling. You must not cling to his youth, you must not cling to the way he makes you feel, and you must not cling to the relationship itself as if it were a solid object that can be possessed. To cling is to resist the fundamental nature of reality, which is flow. and to resist flow is to guarantee you will be broken by it. The most obvious form of clinging here is to the idea of youth. The connection to the younger person can be like a warm light, and it feels wonderful. But the mind, in its fear, tries to grasp this light. The woman may begin to change her behavior, her dress, her interests, not from a place of authentic evolution, but from a place of fear, the fear of losing that connection to youthfulness. She clings to the feeling, and in doing so, she starts to lose the very thing that is her greatest strength, her authentic, accumulated self. She is clinging to a reflection in the water, and in her desperation to hold it, she thrashes and disturbs the surface until the reflection is gone completely. This clinging is a form of fear. Fear of aging, fear of irrelevance, fear of her own mortality. And the relationship becomes not a source of joy, but a frantic medicine against this fear. Another form of clinging is to the dynamic itself. When the connection is good, when it feels harmonious, the mind panics at the thought of it ending. This fear leads to behaviors of control. It can be subtle, monitoring his activities, feeling anxiety when he is with his own friends, needing constant reassurance. You are clinging to the present moment, trying to freeze it in time. This is like trying to hold a river in your hands. The water will always slip through your fingers, and all you will be left with is the frustration of your failed attempt. By clinging, you suffocate the very life out of the connection. Love and connection can only breathe in an atmosphere of freedom. When you cling, you replace freedom with fear, and the other person will feel this. They will feel the energetic cage you are building around them, and their natural instinct will be to seek air, to seek freedom. Your clinging, which is born from the fear of losing them, becomes the very thing that pushes them away. The practice here is one of the most difficult and most liberating in all of human existence. It is the practice of non-attachment. This does not mean non-love. It is not coldness or indifference. In fact, non-attachment is the highest, purest form of love. It is the ability to love someone fully, to cherish their presence, to be completely engaged in the connection, but without the desperate need for it to be permanent or to be a certain way. It is loving with an open hand, not a clenched fist. You enjoy the warmth of the sun on your skin without believing you can own the sun. You appreciate the beauty of a song without panicking that the song will end. You allow the relationship to be what it is, in this moment, a dance, and you know that all dances end. This acceptance does not diminish the beauty of the dance, it enhances it. It allows you to be fully present because you are not worried about the final note. To let go of clinging is to let go of suffering. It is to find peace not in possessing another person, but in the boundless, free-flowing act of loving itself, finding stillness. So we arrive at the center of the labyrinth. After navigating the traps of seeking reflections, losing our center, assuming roles, confusing timelines, projecting futures, and clinging tightly, what is left? What is the path forward? It is not to build a wall around our heart. It is not to declare that such connections are impossible or forbidden. The path is not one of avoidance, but one of profound self-cultivation. The ultimate answer, the final understanding, is that the quality of any connection you have with another human being is a direct reflection of the quality of the connection you have with yourself. The work is always and only an inside job. The one thing to do, the only thing that matters, is to cultivate your own inner stillness. A mind that is still is a mind that is clear. From this place of clarity, you can see your own motivations. You can see when you are seeking a reflection of your youth. You can feel when you are starting to relocate your center into another. You can recognize the moment you are slipping into a role. You can perceive the friction of mismatched timelines. You can witness your mind as it starts to project a fantasy future. You can observe the impulse to cling before it takes over. Stillness is not an absence of thought or feeling. It is the space in which you can observe your thoughts and feelings without being a slave to them. It is the ultimate source of power and freedom. This stillness is cultivated through practice, through meditation, through mindful moments, through spending time in nature, through connecting with your own body. It is the daily, moment-by-moment commitment to returning to your own center. It is building a home inside yourself that is so peaceful, so strong, and so full of light that you do not need anyone else to be your home or your light. You share your light freely without any expectation of return. You love from a place of abundance, not from a place of lack. This is the shift from what can I get from you to what can I share with you. This is where true, healthy connection becomes possible. When you are rooted in your own stillness, you can engage with anyone, a younger man, an older woman, any person, with grace and wisdom. You can appreciate their unique energy without needing it for yourself. You can offer your wisdom without needing to be a mentor. You can love them in their present moment without needing to chain them to a future. You can enjoy the connection with an open hand, knowing that all things are impermanent, and find deep joy in the dance for as long as it lasts. The goal was never to learn how to manage a relationship with a younger man. The goal was to learn how to master yourself, because from that place of self-mastery, all your relationships would be transformed from sources of potential suffering into opportunities for shared, authentic, and peaceful connection. I came to this video expecting simple dating rules, but I'm leaving with a profound lesson on self-awareness and attachment. The part about assuming roles and the mentor trap was a lightning bolt of clarity for me. I realize now I wasn't in love with him. I was in love with the feeling of being needed. Thank you for this difficult but necessary mirror. Time to start building my own center again.